Here we go. So this is Florencia Lamarca. Florencia is my somatic therapist, and I started taking session with her in December, not too long ago. And yeah, somatic therapy session and magic unfolded in just a few months already, I feel. So maybe you want to tell us a little bit more first about what exactly is somatic therapy.
Sure, yeah, it's a big word. But, let's say the work which I do is connecting people to their strength, but through the body. And somatic, what for me means, or the way I look at it, is often how our bodies speak practically all the time to us, and we usually or either cannot listen or don't know how to listen. So also of course, the cell memory of which we have from our life, but also this wisdom which our body has, and how to have a different door, like we enter the door through the body where the mind and the body become one. Yes, and there is a lot of power in the fact when we really stop for a moment and don't go into these stories of our mind and what we know, but really kind of shift attention. I think the main thing of any somatic therapy is this ability of shifting attention to our bodies, to our experience, feelings, which I'm carefully saying that. But yes, it's mainly experiencing and how to listen to our story, to the real story, to the truth, and although we actually tend to tell to ourselves.
That's what I feel like in the body. There's like I have experience going into the body and using the body as a tool to go deeper, because meditation and all of these, like yoga, meditation are tools that people know nowadays to use to go deeper. But really, when I'm having a session with you, you seem to be magically able to read the body, and then stuff naturally happens, and it's crazy what happens. I either weep, or there's always a really deep release that I was not even aware that there was something. So what exactly is that? What happens, and what do you do?
Yes, I think there is, I guess also experience or opening. The best way that I can say it sometimes is it's listening also from my own body, or seeing from my body. It's what I call it containing an experience. And if you allow yourself to be in that place as a practitioner, or practically many of us as human beings, we have this, right? I mean, if you walk on the street and you see someone, you see if they're holding a bit their shoulders, that they are closing. This is kind of the basic, but the more you practice it, and the more you follow, and the more you are tuned into the experience of the person that is in the room, the body just guides you. It guides me to go and to see where are the areas which are probably, or even disconnected, or they are holding, or there is a blockage, of course, and all of that. I think sometimes it can be also called like a sixth sense. Yeah, I mean, when I started to discover it, it felt like it was somewhere really a muscle which you can always also train. And it's also a lot about practicing not to know. Like the more you allow yourself uncertainty and being the unknown, the more you can actually access this place which our bodies are really talking and feeling, because we're also energy. Yeah, we are such a field of energy, and we are vibrating beings. And I think we all really, a lot of us have this capacity to do it. We just maybe don't train it, or we chose, it's for different reasons, but it's something which exists in all of us. So it might seem magical, but it's which it is, but it's also something which we all have. And of course, when we do the sessions, we have so many doors to enter, because I speak to you, I also touch you, we also go through breath. So there is so much, there is a great holistic and global way of looking at it. And this is also how sometimes I can feel that I just enter through different doors. And if this door is blocked, okay, I have this other door to enter. If this is, yeah, and there is always a way that our bodies will always, and this is where I always depart from, that our bodies, soul, spirit, yeah, or what we want to call it, they're always looking for healing. They're always looking, they're searching for being well. So all what we do is just to guide and to take a bit away what is actually stopping that, what is actually, in a way, holding back this ability of our bodies to anyway wanting to be in their strengths and feel this ability to relax, to let go, to surrender. Yes, so yeah, I hope that answers a bit your question.
I'm just curious, like, do you, when you say like you also use your body, right? So, and when I do Reiki, I sometimes feel stuff in my own body from the person I'm
Yeah.
working. But with you, I feel like it goes deeper. You also seem to see it, or probably you're also, as you said, like you're also watching the breath. And I know that the breath is like we can, you know, like we can see if somebody's holding the breath, but you have main modality, something that you're most connected with, and then if this does not give you any clue, doesn't give you any clues, then you use something else.
Yes, definitely. The thing is that it's about a lot about attention. I mean, what I'm actually going through with my clients, or patients, and I'm actually all the basic thing what I'm teaching, let's say, is about attention. So the more attention I have, but from my body, it's not an attention which from just my eyes what are looking at, it's attention from my body's perceiving. What is the experience in the moment? Maybe the person might be saying, I'm great, actually everything is wonderful, and I feel that their body is definitely not feeling great at the moment. Yeah, we do that, we tend to, and the experience which is in my body, and I learn to trust it. I think this is the most important thing, to learn to trust what you perceive, because I mean, you know, if we look really, really back in time, we were much more connected to all of this trust, which you can also call it intuition. And then to learn to trust what you feel. And of course, in the beginning, for example, I was asking maybe much more. I was asking, what do you feel? Look, I'm perceiving this. Are you feeling the same? Is it right what I'm saying? And with the time, I started to realize, okay, that this perception is something which we can really enhance. And the more you trust, the more your body, yeah, and my body can go into this beautiful dance, which we have many times, because I always say it's not me doing anything to you. Yeah, it's really a dance which we create. It's a dialogue of the more you trust also, and the more you allow yourself to go into the experience also, the more I can go into the depth with you. So
and that's something that I definitely like. It's a dance between, like, you make it super easy for me to trust, and then I can, once I decide, okay, I'm gonna trust, I can also let go and
yeah.
the
Exactly. Exactly.
and really crazy, amazing things can somehow happen. So why that? I want to talk later. You said, you know, like, I feel like there's a disconnect in our society between the head and the body. Like, we are so disconnected from the body. But what I would like to talk about further is, like, emotions are stored in the body, right? So the stuff that you not unleashed, but, you know, that came out in our sessions has been old. So it's nothing that, you know, it's not that I was on your table and I was, you know, like, there was old emotions. So how is it, how do you, for people who do not know, like, how do emotions get stored in the body and create stuckness, but also disease?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, this is the way that I work. Now we can look it from different ways, of course, but how I see it, and also what my experience brought me to, is that let's imagine, yeah, in some time ago as a child, you had we call it also trauma, the experience of abandoned, like someone left you, maybe you know, a mother or a father, or, and this is a cause of a lot of pain, of feeling unsafe. And this is a body entering into a process where it's actually looking then to feel safe, to feel loved. And this is why emotions keep repeating and they keep being there, because every time what we see is an unfinished process. Yes, so we actually, what we are trying to do in the sessions and what we aim is to whatever process started, no matter how many years ago, how strong maybe the story is, because for some people it might be that, and for some people will it be like, my neighbor didn't want to play with me, and it still might feel the same pain. Yeah, it's not about the story, it's about how the person's experience that emotion. And emotions are there in a way for us to guide us and to show us, okay, there is unfinished process, which we keep repeating, and we keep what we call it also then patterns, yeah, that we automatize in the way of how we think, of how we behave, how we feel, how we hold our body. But this is all actually our whole being trying to finish a process. Yeah, and the moment we can give a closure to it, which is totally can happen in one session, yeah, and the person can go, okay, that's, I can let go of this because it's closed in all of those levels, then we don't need that anymore, and the person can move on with their life. And another subject of, another way of seeing emotions, we know that they change all the time. It's really always great to remember that we need, in a way, it's how and learning how to navigate through emotions, and always knowing that nothing stays forever. Like we are, everything is always changing. So actually, the moment we allow ourselves to be with that emotion, even if it's the most uncomfortable one, the most unpleasant one, but we give it space, and space not just about feeling it, but also feeling it in the body. This is the best way where this emotion can transform and we can move on. So actually what we do is giving space for it so it can change. As long as we know it from other, with everything, as long as we resist it or try to change it and fight with it, it's going to be always so this is how and also we are talking about emotions of joy, of happiness, pleasure. These are also emotions which they are shifting. We cannot be forever happy and always joy. This is also unreal. So also to know that whatever happens, we are flexible beings. We need to all the time remember that this is part, and this is what our emotions are there, not to. Sometimes I guess we give so much importance to it. Instead of actually allowing the experience to be there, and then they can change.
I feel like we have unlearned it. Like for me, it was the aha moment when I was living with my sister. My little nephew was there, and he was throwing a tantrum, and he was like screaming. And the next moment, like he let it out, and the next moment he was super happy again, right? So I was like, how can this be? As kids, I think we could do this. Emotion, energy, and motion. We would just allow it to run through our body and not block it, and then
Yes.
but we are adults, we are not allowed to throw a tantrum and just do that.
Yes, and the question here, and the way it's like how as adults we deal with it, because it's also, of course, we don't want to go screaming and shouting, because kids can do that, but in a way how to allow the same energy and the same flow and the same transformation, but being an adult.
How can we do that?
We do that through allowing them. So really noticing, every time, let's say I have the experience of anger, it comes with burning in my belly, which my diaphragm close, which I suddenly become very rigid. This is actually stopping the experience of anger. So it doesn't mean that if you allow it, then you will start screaming. Let's see, if you breathe, if you open in your diaphragm, if you allow softness in your face, what happens to that anger? It might be that then you are very clear and you really say exactly what you want with all of your open heart, and you can still be very clear and direct and still staying soft. And this is how you use anger, for example, which is also usually we are into like, let your anger, and it's like, I need to punch and I need to, okay, feel it. It's a lot of energy moving in your body, but you are an adult. We don't want that if you're in the office, you're going to start screaming, right, all over your employees, but if in a way in the sessions what we do create a safe space where maybe all of this can can be exaggerated, let's say, or it has even more power. But this is in order that when we leave the safe space and we translate it into life, your body will remember that this energy is not threatening. It doesn't mean that you will scream and freak out. It means actually that the moment you allow it, you really often find a lot of clarity.
So
and this with different emotions.
So it's basically the two main parts that you do is like see what's there, what may be old and what may be blocking. And then the other part is like helping your clients to really feel it and to process it in the moment.
Yes, and to see that the moment that they can process it and the moment that they can really feel it, often they realize, wow, for example, I never thought that really feeling pain, it could bring me so much joy after. This is what happens when we transform, yes, through the body. We cannot really do that much through the mind. Only through the mind it's really hard. It's that's where we need both, because our bodies have this capacity of doing that.
What happens, like right now, let's take this global
situation,
global pandemic. Many people, I believe, are like, in my opinion, I believe fear might be the dominant emotion or feeling. What happens in the body when we feel fear, and how can we ease that?
Yeah, I think we all, as we are very unique humans, yeah, we are all unique in our way, in our history. It's very important to not generalize it as well, to see it, but also to see, okay, how does it feel for me? Like to really connect to your uniqueness, to the way that you react to the situation. But the fear is uncertainty, right? There is a lot of uncertainty, and this is for us as human when we don't know what is going to happen next. That's this uncertainty. We also didn't really learn how to cope with it. We have so tendencies will be to numb ourselves, tendencies to be to disconnect, tendencies to be to deny what is happening. Others are just doing. Let's do a lot of online sessions. Let's do a lot of online stuff because this is how I feel that I'm productive. But we actually also not really stopping. Yes, so I think a big measure force that is here is, it is this fear, but it's this uncertainty that we need to first of all see and look in and to recognize how is this affecting and where we can create that shift.
How do you do that?
I use different, I'm very open to different kind of ways of working through my body. So sometimes it might be that I do a yoga, sometimes just put loud music and dance like hell. Then I just meditate. I mean, meditation for sure, this is math, like it's a need. Like I meditate twice a day, 20 minutes with a mantra. And I think how I do this also, like to the moment that I recognize how I feel fear in my body, and I learn to do that in a way of like, okay, this is how I might hold my body. This is where I go and I think, what are the worst case scenario? And to actually to allow this and to definitely to breathe with it, to feel like, okay, it's okay to be afraid. There is nothing wrong with it. Yeah, it's human. And then to have all of that energy that can be in my body. And the more I allow it, and the more, or either I move with it or I rest with it, because each time it's a bit different. There is not one thing, if I keep doing this, because then it becomes also it can become rigid, fanatic, and our bodies don't function like this. Every day we evolve, every day we feel a bit different. So it's also to be, this is what I mean, to listen to what you need at the moment and to answer to that. So it's definitely to shift my attention to the body, that's for sure. Yeah, which it can mean as well, from meditation to any kind of high intensity training and talking to people. So I think it's really important to reach out, like in whatever medium, phone call, Zoom, I don't mind which, but really to reach out. And also, which I discovered the last days, and as we were speaking before, that I really had this need of slowing down and kind of first of all digest everything that is happening. We have really this possibility if we open really our heart and we feel everybody who we actually usually in touch with, and our friends and our families, which my family, they're all across the ocean, they're all spread, but we have this in our attention, and to connect, even if you're in your own living room and alone, but if you can, the fear usually contracts the heart, right? Usually fear has a tendency that it goes up, we go into the head, many times contracting the chest, and we lose also our ground, we lose our legs, we lose our connection to everything that is about grounding. We can call it in different names, and actually what we need is, it's the more we recognize that energy and we allow it to move through us, then the more also, I mean, there is a lot of amazing vibrations at the moment. And this is really where I can also feel like meditate was never easier. Like there is this silence, there is this place where the world is really like, it's vibrating. So for people who are perceptive or high sensitive, they will feel that even more. And it's great to know how to, use it, dance with it.
How do you experience it? Like when you say, like people can feel it.
I think it's also a choice, because look, I could also choose to look at the news, talk to people which are panicked, and to see, and there is a choice where also deliberately going to a place where how I can keep my own, to stay sane, without still being responsible, not denying the situation, but how to stay sane. And the feeling, if we talk about a physical feeling, it's a sense of a bit sometimes of euphoria, even like there is a lot of energy. There is something which, like, I also don't need to eat so much because there is a lot of energy around. And of course we also have the spring, the sun is out, we are very lucky with it, but there is something which, if you for a moment stop and we feel that it's all is so universal, you feel that we are all connected, and this is huge. To feel that we are all connected, and no one is in a way escaping from this. It's an amazing opportunity, and that's what I've been saying from the first moment. I was like, this is an amazing door for a big change of consciousness, which we really actually need. Which is my job. My job was always, but it was for people who felt drawn to it, and they made this courageous step to become conscious, which is never not the easier way. Sometimes people were like, can I put this blind back, because sometimes being conscious, it doesn't mean that you're, again, that it's all about great feelings. It's also dealing with your shadows, it's dealing with all pains, but this is what is consciousness means about. And in this situation, becoming conscious is also, about the grief, about that we are going to lose people that we love, that, and this is also part of it. To become conscious about that.
But I really feel like there's two mainstreams right now. So the one, there is a huge excitement and seeing this what's currently going on as a huge shift and as an opportunity for people to come together and to get back to their roots and to really see what's important to them and to reevaluate how they really want to live life. And then if you watch the news or you go out there and you hear what people are talking on the street, you hear, there's also an excitement sometimes, but an excitement in indulging in the fear. That's what I feel like. It's also mixed with this. So there's this huge gap in my perception.
Yes, and you're right. And I think this is when I'm trying to answer to this in a way which is like, it's also inside of us, this duality, it's never or this or that. We're always living in this duality, and actually a word will be to embrace it, or to be with it. Like we have this light, we have the shadow, and it's what we tend to do is to separate, or either that or that, and we actually if we know and we see that there is a duality in all of us, and then of course outside of us, also in nature, nature, if you look at it, and how the cycles that it has and how it can be, it's the same. So and it will always be, because this is in our human nature. And then this is what I again say, it's like what do you choose? What do you choose to also have faith on? What do you choose to where do you put the water? Which plant, which one do you want to really, and that's a choice. And we need to become, first of all, conscious of that this is what is happening. And I think this is also a bit spiritual, what I'm going to say here, but I think the more that we generally look and allow ourselves to vibrate in that higher way of really the positive things which can come out of this, it will be also very powerful on the other side, which is the fear, the panic, the anger, the frustration, all of it. But this is our human nature, will always be there.
So you mean like the more we who are making to be aware and conscious choose on staying in a, as this is why I feel like self-care is so important right now, to really make sure that we are in a good place, because it affects basically everyone. I always say it ripples. And I'm feeling my family who might not be as aware of conscious choice.
Exactly. And this is really how it works. And again, something which and it's a sentence we probably have heard many times, but I think it's always great to remind it. We cannot change the situation many times, but we really can change how we relate to the situation, how we act on it, how we react to it. And this is always a choice. Of course, we need to have some tools for it. Of course, we need to. It's sometimes let's call it's work. It's really going there. Sometimes it feels like we are failing. Sometimes it's not. It's a journey which is not the most. Go here, but I mean, and especially now, as you see, it's huge. We cannot really, change the situation because it's impossible at the moment. But yes, how everybody is individually and in your own uniqueness, how you choose to relate to it.
This is very about awareness, what I feel, and about like your work, especially like the connection with the body, being connected with the body. There's such a, globally, I feel there's such a disconnect going on, and so important, I feel, to come back into this and
to go in again. Look, we it's many years, but I think we have been a bit misguided to look that happiness and satisfaction is outside of us, right? That if you have more, or if you achieve this career, and if you're successful, and then you're recognized, and all of these is things which we really misguided in this way, that this is how happiness will be there. And this is again, and if you look at it as a situation that is happening now, it's really forcing you to go into your house and into your house. It's really, you have to. So it's basically that, this connection comes from many different reasons, but I think a big one, it's because, as much as media can be it's a very powerful tool, as we know, it can be used, in many, many different ways. And also because, as what I mentioned before, when we suddenly, after many years, and maybe, we were having our plan, and this is what I want to do, and then suddenly, let's say you fulfill this dream, but you realize that this dream is not actually what really makes you happy. And some people, it's painful to wake up. It's not that waking up and then it's like, and this is the thing, it's there is always, I think, also this phase of how would I call it, a bit drowning into all of the things which you maybe didn't see before. And it can be very physical also, no? is not necessarily pleasant. And this is what I always tell people, like, it's not necessarily the most pleasant thing, but what you get out of it after is the biggest present that you can have, because it's also yours and no one can take it away from you.
This is also like people seem to come to you, I think, or back to their bodies through suffering. Either, you know, like I was totally disconnected from my body because of my history, but there's, yeah, as you said, the media is a tool, tells you like you got to look like this or you got to look like that, and then we reject the bodies that we have, or but once we start having pain or emotional or physical pain, then we somehow have to come.
Yes.
Like, what is your story? Because you, I mean, you were a dancer before, so you were really connected with your body, right? So how did you come to
In a very different way, I guess. Yeah, there was a lot of, I mean, I danced professionally for 20 years, and I lived many years in very different cultures also. So I born in Uruguay. When I was 14, I left alone to Israel because I wanted to approach my dance career there. I became a dancer there. From there, I moved to Europe after 10 years of living in Israel. I was 2 years dancing in many different cities of Europe, and then eventually decided for Berlin. So it's a big chunk of my life, definitely my dance career. But that's a bit, yeah, for me, my personal story. It's definitely, for example, 2 points in my life, which one was with the age of 14 to leave your family is very young, to a very unknown country and not knowing the language, just following your passion. So this is, of course, something which, when I talked before about a process which was not finished, yeah, my body years later, it knocked and say, hey, there is something here which we don't want to bury anymore. Yeah, and it started to show up, and it started to show up, and this is actually a lot of my specialty when I give sessions with panic attacks. Yeah, and panic attacks is a lot of fear which in the body, which you just for a long time try to overcome and try to stay strong. So this is actually, I really love to work with people and with fear itself, because the way also that I learned to transform it, and I mean now it became really my strength. Yeah, today it's something which, yeah, everybody who suffers from panic attack knows. First of all, you may feel like dying first. Yeah, you cannot breathe, you don't see or hear well, and you're constantly not part of life. It's a very, very, very unpleasant feeling. So, and I, for example, I had a great psychologist, which they helped me a lot. Yeah, and I'm forever very, very grateful. But it was only until I did it and I experienced it in my body and learned how to deal with it. With each time there was something which felt threatening, which is very unconscious. Yeah, it's not something, and that my body learned to deal with it, I became total free panic attack. And this is why today I can also, let's say, and a bit what you said before, and thank you for giving me this nice platform. But I really believe that what the people feel is that my body went through something like this, and I'm not speaking from a book or it's not theoretically, it's because I know what it means and I know how to hold the space for that. Because we actually need to feel safe in order to let go. If we don't feel safe, it's never, and trust is never going to happen. So this is practically, as a dancer, I guess, yeah, for many, and if I go back, for many years, it was my tool of expressing, of healing, I used it also in this way, but eventually the last year, it did become more of pressure, more of the typical needing to perform, needing to be good, needing to prove, so the body is more used as a tool, and not really as a place where actually you go in and you discover all of this healing ways that you can have. So it was very interesting for me to switch. Yeah, it was a switch where I was like, okay, this is how I can feel my body in a very different concept. And then later on, I did manage, and I created, yes, this togetherness, which is my fluent body classes, yeah, that I give in bigger groups, or I give workshops, because I do combine my whole dance career and the knowledge of dance and body work, but with the somatics, so people can go through their body and have beautiful experiences, and everything that is about not judgmental, freeing, but with a very clear structure, not just wildness. Yes, something which is, because I do like nuances, I love sophistication, I love these details. Yeah, for me, this is really, you need to be able to zoom in and then zoom out. Yeah, that's my. So this is pretty much my story, and this the body work. It's about now 10 years that I do it, and it's pretty much the best decision I could have taken in my life. But I wouldn't reach it if I wouldn't have myself experience. Very, very also, yeah, it's the same. My body was very loud sometimes, trying to speak to me and saying like, we need a change, and it's about sometimes really to dare to listen to it and to take the risk and to really look in and say, okay, that's what it's my choice, it's my life, how do I do this?
Thanks for sharing. Like this is something
Sure.
I didn't know, and it's also like I haven't experienced your fluent body classes yet, and I would love to experience them. But what is like when in the sessions, what you say, like trust is such a huge thing, and so often we don't trust ourselves.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
me, what I always stress is that like we all know, like I didn't know you, but I knew that I could trust you, and that was not on a mental level, but it was because I'm connected with my body, and it said, yeah, that
Exactly.
feels right, and then what a yes is and what a no is. So I remember when I was in my 20s or so, late 20s, I went to look for a therapist, and one place where there were two therapists, and the first ones I knew immediately, and I wasn't even that connected with my body yet, but I was like, no, I cannot, and it was, and the second one was like, yes. So and you have this, like, this very warm, trustworthy, you can feel it, and that makes it easy to just, even though I might not know everything about you, but it's also then I make the choice, I trust.
Yeah.
I feel that only then you can go deep, or like what is required for really.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I have to this is, yeah, definitely for me one of also one of the most important things which I really, really want to always be able to give, or that these are the conditions, because I also, as I said, I felt it from myself, and I also had amazing guidance or practitioners which exactly created this space for me, and I know how it feels. I know what it means. I know that if there is suddenly someone really holding, with no judging you, with telling you if you let go you will not fall apart, it's okay. Yes, so knowing how it feels, experiencing, and then, but really also remember that at the end of the day, it's your own strength, it's your own ability of each of us to reach that place. Yeah, there is, all practitioners, healers, they can be a guide, they can be a support, they can be a container to, but it's about us to also to trust and us to make that step. I always say, like, I can give you my hand, you can take it, but you need to cross. I will never force you to cross.
One thing that I'm really feeling, like, why is this so hard for many to have, like in German we have this word Urvertrauen, which is like the basic trust in life that you,
Yes.
there is no should, but like, but that so many don't have,
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, of course, because also, I mean, I guess many reasons are for there, but it's we have been, it's for now, for many years, much more encouraged to do things which are much more about this area of our body, yeah, to how to, yeah, how to sell, how it's, yeah, what is success, and what to, and of course, yeah, we kind of lost the ability, we disconnected, but there is also a great movement of of going back there, of yeah, there's so many now rituals, ceremonies, techniques, which is, some of them of course I'm also sometimes going like, no, 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 no. Which I'm like, yeah, because of like, huh?
Especially
Yeah, in Berlin, yeah, which is why I love Berlin. Yeah, it's very open, and I think I love being a practitioner here because I don't need to convince anyone. There is always a flow. People come and they trust here, which probably in another place I would have to talk about it more. Or yeah, here it's like, yeah, of course, things, and that's wonderful. But yeah, it also allows sometimes many things, which is, which is sometimes for me, it feels a bit the same. It feels a bit consumism of like consuming spirituality, right? Like putting a lot of things on your plate and more, which, but this is also, I mean, it's part of life. So, yeah.
if someone has or is struggling during these times, what would you tell this person if someone just called you right now and said, hey, I'm really struggling, I don't know, I feel all this stuff that's in the air, or it really worries me, what's going on, what would you say?
So for me, I mean, well, one of the things which I'm also doing, and I'm always really happy, these online sessions, because then I have at least 1 hour with the person, and I will tell to the person also, I will guide this person to go in and to recognize and to see how it feels. And we go step by step, that we get the whole picture of what is this struggle, what is this fear, what is in the body, or what is the person trying to do unconsciously, and to become conscious about it. And I use, for me, the best is using, of course, verbal communication and to find clarity, but also all different exercises that I usually do together with the person, because all of it brings the attention back to the body. And then pretty much from there on, the body anyway starts to show what is needed. And for everybody, as I say, we are all unique and we all struggle different. I mean, there are people which they're with their family and they live in a very small place. Yeah, the conditions can be so different. But yes, for me, it will be like whatever you're going through, how we can find a way that you find your own, also your strength. Yes, and that we don't need to fight this anymore. Not to fight. It's a lot about surrender, actually, in whatever it is. So it will be very, your question is great, but I think it's so unique because this is also part of my work too, that we all, we are all different, and it's very personal. Then what I will say to to everybody. Some people are maybe a bit more spiritual, so this would be a language where I will use. Some people are much more physical, so we go. So this is something which I also learned to feel, okay, what is my language with you?
Yeah,
But in general, yeah,
can see that in you, that you're very much aware of that, like making sure
yeah.
the language the person far from you can understand.
Yeah, because it's also a big part of who we are, how we communicate, which kind of words we use, no? But in general, I will say what everybody, like staying physical, taking care of what we eat, getting as much sun as we can. Yeah, all of these basic needs. Definitely, don't watch too many news. Yeah, get a great book, and really to practice gratitude as well. It might sound the last thing that many people might want to do, but actually that's what we need to do.
Actually, it elevates our vibration, our frequency. Really, it's a really good antidote.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Definitely. So you're doing online sessions right now, and awareness is already. I already say, like, awareness is 50% at least. Once you're aware of what you're doing and you're willing to feel it, and then you guide people into surrender. So I'm gonna link the website to this video so that people who are watching this can find you. Anything that I have not asked you and that you you feel like it's still important for you to share? Is there anything?
It's a good question. Yes, that it will end. I mean, this is something that is temporary, that we need to also remember this, and that it's going, the world as we know it is definitely going to change. But that I think it's really great to remember that we're going to be again back into connection, into touch, because this is actually one of the main things also that is getting now lost. So to remember that it's going to come back, that it's nothing is forever. So to keep that also in mind, and not to, and to really, that's where it's just living now the day by day, of course, with noticing, what are your, if you have your kids, if you have whatever is your situation, but also being able to be doing it step by step as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diane. It was a pleasure. Yes, and I really hope that it can inspire people, or that this is always a pleasure for me.
Thank you.
Thanks.